Let's get talking. For about a month, Nigeria was hit by fuel scarcity as a result of the importation of contaminated fuel, which had to be taken off the market. The federal government discovered that the amount of methanol, a chemical additive in imported fuel from Belgium, exceeded Nigeria's specification of 5%. Now, at least 170.25 million litres of petrol were affected, a development that has resulted in shortage of petrol, with queues reappearing in major cities, including Abuja and Lagos. Now, the sad reality is that Nigeria relies heavily on importation of refined petroleum products to create supply that matches its fuel demand, as the nation's refineries are performing far below its optimal level, as energy prices have increased due to the rising crude oil prices and the escalating Russia-Ukraine war. As normalcy gradually returns to some filling stations across the country, following the protracted scarcity of PMS, popularly known as petrol. The rising cost of diesel is now a source of concern to many business owners and commuters, as the cost of transportation and food prices are on the high side, with no sight of abating anytime soon. Well, joining me now via Zoom to understand this is the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, MOMAN, Mr. Clement Isonga. Good afternoon, Mr. Isonga, and thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Toto. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm going to start this way. We need to just understand from your perspective, from the contaminated fuel issue, we're going to blend it, products started coming in, supply easing. Where are we at the moment? And what is happening with regards to that issue that led to the contaminated fuel coming into the country?
Yes, Toto. The truth is that we've had a very rough couple of weeks. It is true that quite a number of things have gone wrong at the same time. Around the time that the Russian-Ukraine crisis was just beginning, it has impacted supply. Supply chains, but not just that. A lot of our diesel that comes into Nigeria comes from what we call FSU, the former Soviet Union. So once we had the disruption created by the contaminated methanol, the first challenge was to isolate the contaminated fuel and then withdraw it from the system. And I must say, we worked very well with PPMC, with NNPC, and with the authority in the technical aspects of identifying the product, of finding the most efficient way of handling the product, which essentially amounted to blending. Sometimes the product had to be evacuated from the filling stations. Sometimes it had to be taken to depots and reblended in depots, tested and retested to make sure that it was fit for use. We had other challenges. I've told you that with the challenge of the Ukraine, international crude oil prices went up as high at a point as $130 per barrel. And the impact on that, on the other distillates, on the other products. So diesel is extremely expensive right now. And as you know, the entire backbone of the distribution system in Nigeria is founded on diesel. So from the depots through to the trucks, through to the filling stations, they all run on diesel engines, either diesel generators or diesel trucks. And so that has seriously hit the cost of distribution for a product that the price is capped. So it is impossible to recover that cost because of the cap of the product. We then have, if we were to make matters worse, all the vandalization that is going on with respect to the pipelines. So the system 2D or 2E pipeline from Atlas Cove that goes through Ejigbo, Satellite, Mosimi, Ibadan, Ilori, that pipeline is down. And all the products now have to go by truck. Add to that the fact that we are unable to reach our full quota of crude. I'm told the quota is about 1.7, 1.8, and we are doing 1.2, 1.4. The impact of that is to find the quantity of crude for the DSDP or for the swap or for the revenue coming into the country is a challenge. You add to that the insecurity in the country. So when you had queues at the filling station, many filling stations were attacked by area boys, so it was extremely tough operating environment. Add to that the exchange rate, the official rate being 415, but I think we all know, anybody who is involved in any business that has to do with foreign exchange, that we get it at 575. So this has significantly affected the operating environment. But I am happy to say that working with NNPC, essentially what they had to do was they had to find and pump out 150% of demand in order to kill the queues and in order to stabilize the market. And the market is currently slowly getting back to normal.
Interesting. I want to ask this, actually, a layman will want to know that really what are the components or what really determines the landing cost and all of these figures at the moment, considering oil price and all of that. Can we just break it down and understand where we're going so that we know what is really happening with regards to subsidy at the moment?
Okay, so what I can say is we all know that all petroleum products are currently being imported into Nigeria. We cannot wait for Dangote refinery. We are desperately waiting for it to start. If for nothing else, what it will do is it will insulate us from the volatility of the market. What we have currently is, because of the increase in crude oil prices or in prices of the derivatives, PMS, AGO, ATK, we have spikes. The price can go as high as, I'm told yesterday was 1,031. The day before, $1,031 per ton plus, and then yesterday it was down to $969 per ton for ATK. This is a product that normally used to go for much less, $400, $500 per ton. So this is extremely challenging. The cost of the product itself is the major cost, is the major component of the cost of that you buy. The logistics creates another challenge, but it's something that I think largely we can deal with, we can overcome. But that's the major cost of the product is the cost of cost insurance freight, meaning bringing it into the country.
Interesting stuff. Now, let's talk also around aviation fuel. Yes, I know you've been in Abuja, a lot of meetings and all of that. And at the moment, they were supposed to shut down the airspace, according to the operators, tomorrow, Thursday. But what's the update with regards to that? And what's also your reaction to allowing marketers bring in products and not just solely relying on NNPC being the sole importer? All of this making it look like we can do better than this.
No, without doubt, even NNPC wishes the market to open up, allow everybody to bring in products. It's extremely necessary to have more than one supplier. It's tracked, it's pretty common sense. The challenge is access to Forex. The country is trying to manage the Forex that it has, and that makes it extremely difficult for people to access Forex. Yes, we had meetings, and we are still meeting yesterday, today, with the airline CEOs. I just want to point out that there are no villains here. We're all victims. They are victims because they find themselves between a rock and a hard place. They don't want to push up passenger fares. They are constrained, but the operating costs are high. I must say, it's not just the aviation fuel. The aviation fuel is a significant part of it, but there are other operating costs, all of them based in US dollars. So the exchange rate is a significant part of the problem. But yes, we are meeting with them, we're discussing with them, we're trying to move from spot pricing to formula-based pricing, which will sort of take out the volatility in the markets, the spikes. Hopefully, they should be able to predict and plan better. But as to whether the price of aviation fuel will come down, hopefully it will parachute down as the world crude oil supply adapts to the demand. And world begins to find stocks of crude oil from other places. They begin to compensate for the shortage that is coming from the former Soviet Union.
I also like to ask that when we talk about monitoring and evaluation and all of that movement of products from the depots to retail outlets and all of this, how would you react to this, particularly in respect to our daily consumption figures? That has always been, even lately, everyone has been reacting to that. But I don't know, what do you think can be done to bridge this gap? Because many say we might even be subsidizing for neighboring countries.
No, I think it is clear that we are subsidizing neighboring countries. You see, this problem that we had with fuel scarcity, where at the pump you were buying at 165, and you had along the streets, all over Lagos, all over Abuja, area boys going to force themselves to buy product from the station and standing along the road and selling. It is created by that concept called arbitrage. For as long as there's a price difference, people, human beings take advantage of it. And the price difference between the price in Nigeria, 165 naira per liter, and what is happening outside. You know, I think I would say that government was prescient in not allowing the full deregulation of petroleum products when we were expecting it sometime in February. Because if that had happened, imagine that the fuel price would have gone from 165 to, what are we talking about here, 500, 600 naira per liter. It would have been unbearable. That is the truth. But that is what it is selling at across the border. And so we have seen pictures all across the border, throughout the south border, the west border, the east border, the north border, of normal, everyday human beings who have left their calling, whether they were farmers, whether they were Okada drivers, whether they were taxi drivers, whatever they were doing. And what they now do is that they buy jerry cans of petroleum products and cross the border. There is a market for it across the border. And I can tell you that those countries, the officials in those countries, the official businesses in those countries are not happy about it because they are losing volume also. But this is simple economics. If the price differential is so high, then you will have hundreds of human beings entering this business, which is what is happening. It is impossible, I tell you, impossible to stop all of them throughout the country. The land border is so large from taking products across the border. It's an economic problem and requires an economic solution.
An economic solution. Now, Mr. Song, before I let you go, my mind goes back to the Petroleum Industry Act, which we've of course talked about before now. And we have 18 months hold now, all because of subsidy. And I'm looking at all of this already, NNPC not being able to do enough for FAC and all of that. How do you see us sustaining this large amount moving on in 2022? What effect will this have on the sector and the BIA?
It is clear that the subsidy is unsustainable. At the time we were talking, maybe the fuel price, the difference was 165 to 300, 320. Now it is up to 500, 550, 600. Who is paying that subsidy? The figures that we have for this year, before this Russian crisis, was 3 trillion. Imagine what it would be now. Clearly, it is unsustainable, and solutions working together. We need to find what the solutions are, because the country will go bankrupt. Nobody can afford this. What can be done about it? Well, the investments are already going on. They need to be intensified. Investments in infrastructure, road infrastructure, investments in transportation, investments in rail. When I say rail, I'm talking about intracity rail, metro lines, the BRT, where the waterways allow the movement by ferry. But we need to move away from focusing on petrol, which deals with small transit, people in cars, and focus on large transportation, meaning mass transportation. And then we also need to focus on accessing foodstuffs, staple foods on the breadbasket states, bringing them into the urban areas to feed the urban poor. Those steps to mitigate the hardship that will be brought about by deregulation need to be in place. But without doubt, the current subsidy levels is clearly unsustainable.
Mr. Song, just in one line, I'll follow up with this. Diesel is being deregulated, and today is about 800 naira a liter. Kerosene, I don't even know. I know it's also on the high side. Maybe that's why Nigerians are scared.
Well, you see, what happens is when you intervene with a subsidy, it's normally temporary to remove the volatility. So if we were fortunate, say when Dangote refinery comes on stream, the daily jumps up or down in prices will be mitigated. Normally, what many countries do is that they do average of plants for 2 months, 3 months. When you base your pricing based on that, then you remove volatility in the market. Prices move up slowly or move down slowly, but eventually it pays for itself. At no point in time, so if there's a subsidy at the beginning, when prices have gone up and you haven't gone up so fast, at the end, when prices go down, you don't go down that fast either to compensate for what happened at the beginning. That is what probably will happen when we have in-country refining. We will not have long-term subsidies, but we will manage the volatility of the price better.
I must thank you so much, Executive Secretary, CEO of Major Oil Marketers Association of Nigeria, MOMAN, Mr. Clement Isong. Thank you so much for your time on the show today.
Thank you very much.